All right, let's check your work for part 3. And if you get any of these wrong and you don't understand why, that is time to email me and say, you've got to explain this one to me because I don't get it. All right, number 1. In the use of Venn diagrams to test the validity of syllogisms, marks are sometimes entered in the diagram for the conclusion. False. We never, ever, ever mark that conclusion. We only mark premises. Number 1 is false. When an X is placed on the arc of a circle, it means that the X could be in either or both of the two areas that the arc separates. Absolutely, we mark that X on the line, separating those two areas, indicating that we don't know where that X goes. It goes in one or the other or both, but we don't know. Number 3, if an X lies on the arc of a circle, the argument cannot be valid. Correct, true. If an X is on the arc, that is an invalid argument. Number 4, when representing a universal statement in a Venn diagram, one always shades 2 of the 7 areas in the diagram unless one of those areas is already shaded. Yes, we're always going to be shading 2 areas of a circle to represent a universal statement, an all or a no statement. Number 5, if a completed diagram contains 2 X's, the argument cannot be valid. Correcto. If you look at your inventory of unconditionally and conditionally valid forms of argument, none of them have 2 particular premise statements. They all have at least 1 universal premise statement, and because we have two statements that make up our categorical syllogisms, we're always going to mark at most 1 X. Number 6, if the conclusion asserts that a certain area is shaded, and the inspection of the diagram reveals that only half the area is shaded, the argument is valid. No! That was kind of a silly one. Number 7, if the conclusion asserts that a certain area contains an X, and the inspection of the diagram reveals that only half an X appears in that area, then the argument is valid. No, half an X would indicate that there's an X on an arc, on a line separating 2 areas, and anytime that happens, the argument is invalid. Number 8, if the conclusion is in the form all S or P, an inspection of the diagram reveals that the part of the S circle that is outside the P circle is shaded, then the argument is valid. Yeah, because if the area outside the P circle is shaded, that means there's nothing there, which means that the unshaded area that it has in common with the P circle must be where they all are, showing all S are P. Number 9, if, in a completed diagram, 3 areas of a single circle are shaded, and placing a circled X in the one remaining area would make the conclusion true, then the argument is valid from the Aristotelian standpoint, but not the Boolean standpoint. Yes, we use plain X's to mark premise statements that start with the word some, and we use the circled X when operating from the Aristotelian standpoint only. Finally, number 10. If, in a completed diagram, 3 areas of a single circle are shaded, but the argument is not valid from the Boolean standpoint, then it must be valid from the Aristotelian standpoint. No! Maybe when we mark our X in the circled X in the Venn diagram, it's not in the place it needs to be in order to represent the conclusion. Or maybe the term that the term where the circled X is placed is something that doesn't exist in reality, and therefore the argument is invalid from the Aristotelian standpoint as well. All right, so again, if you have any questions about any of these things, just shoot me an email.